everybody, it's LindaG, and I'm here today with your favorite psychic medium.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, good to be here in the Linda camp. It's always good.
The Linda camp. Is it hot there like it's hot here?
No, really nothing to complain about. So with all the weather conditions worldwide in the U.S., nothing to complain about down here. It's in the 70s and I actually got the 80s and 90s in some areas of Southern California, but not too bad.
It's 100-something here.
Yeah.
But Monday through, it's going to be like cloudy rain Monday through Friday. It's so you know what? I like it. It's July and we're not, 118 degrees. So.
Right. Exactly. Nothing to complain about, I say. Yeah.
So you had a little announcement you wanted to make?
No, I think it was just a little bit of housekeeping up front. I just wanted to fully acknowledge Andrew for doing a wonderful job on the timestamps on the shows that you and I do together. Right. Andrew's been doing a wonderful job. So thank you, Andrew. Big shout out to him. Wonderful work.
Thank you. I have someone that does mine too, but I'll thank her on my show.
And then I have Hyperledger. And then I have Hyperledger. Hyperledger does the timestamps on the shows that I do on my channel. So she does a wonderful job there too. But all good. We really appreciate all the support. It really adds a lot of value to the channel. So
awesome. So listen, thank you to your wife, Linda, and to my friend Dan, who get the questions together. And Linda knows the questions you've already answered and kind of keeps an eye on that.
Absolutely, because people get sensitive to duplicate questions and all that. So she tries to stay on top of all that. Yeah, does a good job. I
don't pay attention like I should. I probably repeat questions. So, okay, are you ready?
Sure, always ready.
Question number one. I love it when you two are together. Of course, thank you. What is really going on between Putin and Lukashenko in Belarus? Is Putin using Lukashenko to take over Belarus, or is he just using Belarus as a staging ground for more attacks against the Ukraine?
So that's a wide question, but we can drill into this. I've always seen that Putin is a pretty good chess player. He hasn't been executing so well over the last year or two, but he plays a lot of chess in the way he thinks. And so I've always seen that Prigozhin, he kind of shot him into Belarus, so to speak, pushed him in there, because the overall end game for Putin is he does want control of Belarus. And he also wants to use it as some sort of a launching ground for some sort of an extra push into Ukraine. So I've always seen that whatever's going on there, Putin has got some sort of a deal going with Prigozhin around eventually longer term against Lukashenko to try to get control of Belarus. So for me, that's the long game for Putin. I think is what's going on here. And it looks like he cut a deal with Prigozhin to say, look, if you go in there, help me out. I need control of that country. And so actually the Wagner group is going to be used as some sort of a leverage to try to get control of Belarus eventually. Yeah. I'm sorry to say for a lot of people in Belarus, but it looks like that's how Putin, from my team's perspective, is playing chess behind the scenes. Yeah.
And the Wagner army is setting up again over there.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're showing satellite, but Putin is decreased. He's not increased. This whole thing made him look weak, and there's a lot of talk about people jumping in there and maybe taking him out.
Yeah, he's on the downturn. I always saw that there were going to be big global discussions around summertime. So we're kind of in the summer months here. And that, in fact, 45's downfall would be on the same trajectory as Putin's, kind of in parallel. So they're both kind of in a downward spiral right now.
Right. Okay. Will anyone be held accountable for all the deleted text from the Secret Service January 6th, or will they be allowed to continue as usual with the possibility of deleting information again in the future?
I see that ship has sailed in terms of them trying to hold people legally responsible for the deleted text. The ship sailed because they didn't have enough infrastructure in place backed up by the right kind of laws on the books to stop people from using burner phones and that kind of a thing. So it looks to me like going forward, there's going to be new legislation coupled with new technology infrastructure So you'll be able to then always have records of all the text, for example.
Good,
So it's
good.
kind of like lesson learned is what my team's
Yeah,
telling
that's
me.
what I,
Yeah.
just like eventually, not now because of the Congress that's there. I think President Biden will put some things against the Supreme Court to make them stand up and be right, you know. They're they're
Yeah,
underhanded.
right. Exactly.
Did you hear about that man that they use as an example for that woman to say, I don't want to do a website? Apparently the man she used for gays, the man she used is a heterosexual, has been married for 15 years and has a child. And he was totally shocked he was thrown in. So apparently now, because I guess Justice Roberts doesn't like that kind of stuff, they can go back now and say, you can't use this case that was based on fraud.
Yeah, I saw that was a political news reporter that just the phone number, the contact information was in the Supreme Court suit. And so the lady, this reporter, just called him up directly and said, are you aware of what's going on? He said, I was only aware when it went to the Supreme Court. He said, so it was a fictitious case the web designer had.
Isn't that something? I wonder if he could even sue her or sue the people that did this thing without even talking to him and using his name.
I would imagine there's some legal ramifications there. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I got all excited. When a person transitions instantly, like in a submersible, do they know they've passed? Are they confused? How can the human body make that adjustment?
Well, the key is it's not the human body making the adjustment. That's the key. It's your spiritual, your core soul DNA, your spirit. Now, you look like you're in human form when you transition, but you're aware of that. You're aware of like transitioning. It's almost like walking outside the door in front of your house. You're inside, now you're outside. So you do realize that there's a change. It takes you a while to kind of get your bearings, but you do realize there's a change. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, the other side is where you're wide awake.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like this body, you were sleeping. Can I tell you a quick little story? You probably already know about this. There was a man on Dr. Is his name Dr. Greer?
Stephen Greer. Stephen
Yeah,
Greer.
he's a doctor. He's an ER doctor.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody gave testimony to him about, you know, they deal with ETs, about going into doing out of body. He used to practice that. He'd go to, you know, he said at one point in time, he went straight up and hit a spaceship. He said what was interesting, when he hit the side of the ship moved. And he like looked, and it was some ETs in there looking like, watch where you're going, buddy. And he couldn't understand how he made that ship move. And Dr. Greer said it's because you were in the spirit body, vibrationally, you were connected to the realm, so to speak. And those ships, that's how they get around, is their realm. If you had been in regular body, or had you been in like a ghost type situation, this was the body in here, and then if he had been, he would have gone right through it. But because they both matched, it hit him. I just had to say that. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, a lot going on with all that technology. We should have a separate show on all the extraterrestrial technology and cloaking technology and ET versus man-made extraterrestrial ships. We could have a big discussion on that. Yeah.
I know this. I joined his thing so I can get all the information. Okay. What will happen to schools, businesses across the country since the affirmative action ruling was overturned? Will companies, schools make sure there is diversity, or will another version of affirmative action be put in place in the future?
I don't see another version of affirmative action being put in place. However, what I do see is that there's going to be what I call workarounds. So if you look at the college and university system, it looks like they'll lean on other tools like essays, subjective essays or whatnot, where people that can then talk about racial injustice or the problems they had. And it looks like college and universities will place the weight on admissions on different tools. So I don't think it's not all over. In terms of businesses and corporations, it looks like the majority, to me, according to my team, are going to do the right thing.
That's
Like
what
they
I'm
actually
going through.
want diversity because, for example, if you're in a creative or any kind of customer facing situations for a lot of corporations, you want diversity of thought. So there'll be a few rogue corporations. I think they'll, do whatever they want to do. But this is not as bad as I think everybody would think. It's going to work itself out.
Do you see actually maybe down the road it being overturned?
I think there'll
They're
be
gonna
another case of a different kind, right? So this is, remember, the universities, the two universities that were named, but
Harvard and
University of North Carolina, I think it was, and if I remember, and was it Harvard? Was that the other one?
yeah, I could have swore
Harvard.
Harvard. And what's
Uh,
interesting is my tribe, the Comanches, have been given carte blanche to anybody that, as long as you pass the scores and you have a good score, you can go to Harvard for free. And when I
wonderful.
found this out, I was in my 50s. So yeah, forget about it.
Yeah, so I
And
think
my son didn't want to go. So
I think the important messaging is that everybody needs to keep moving forward. This is not kind of a catastrophic condition here. It's one that has to be managed. So the society is going to manage this with using different tools.
the most important thing, I just can't emphasize this enough, is that they voted for the voting rights. I mean, that's huge right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, will Biden be the first US president to speak openly to the nation about UAPs? Speaking of UAPs, non-human intelligence.
I get it's actually going to come out of APAC or Asia, and Europe is where the first discussions with the world are going to come out of, and then followed by like the US and other countries. It's coming out of Asia and Europe first.
Okay. Yeah, Biden feels old school to me. Maybe, he's from that old administration.
Mm-hmm.
Will the MAGAs ever join the conservative Republicans, or perhaps will a third party arise?
I don't see a third Republican party. I mean, there's a lot of little startup minority parties, but I don't see a third Republican party, and it looks like a lot of the MAGAs will start to die off over a number of years. So they'll still be in society, but I mean, they're not gonna form a third party, if that was a question.
Right. Even the
So
Koch brothers are, well, there's only one brother left, but
Mhm.
they're working against Trump right now. They're giving money elsewhere.
Yeah.
Russian bank VP Kristina Bakova, 28, died in a mysterious plunge from the window of her 11th-story apartment. A friend said he had been invited for drinks. She went out on the balcony at 3 a.m. and she fell out the window. Was this an accident or foul play?
Being told 100% foul play. That she had some inside knowledge of how money was being moved around. Actually based on some war in Russia here. So there's some inside knowledge there. And she wasn't.
They have it on video too, by the way.
Yeah, and I guess she wasn't willing to play ball, so to speak.
Yeah, and he said she seemed like she was drugged.
Yeah.
She wasn't making any sense. And then she had the camera. She went to the window and jumped.
Yeah, unfortunately, I always don't like seeing these things, but it looks like foul play.
I know.
Was behind
It felt like it. It felt like she was under a lot of pressure. Like she knew no way out. And being drugged, obviously, something was going on.
Sure.
Will Northern California earthquake that Sterling predicted for this year leave us without access to power, food, and or water for a number of weeks? I'd like to prepare, as I always try to do, but this sounds like it could take the infrastructure.
I've always seen the big earthquake that's coming, whether it actually happens within this year or very shortly thereafter, will put a lot of California under problems for 1 to 2 weeks. So whether it's power, roadways you can't get through. So I always tell everybody, make sure you have enough water and crackers and, granola to last you 2 weeks, kind of a thing.
Right.
Because it's going to be a little bit of a while before they can start opening up roadways. Yeah, so it will be. I see a lot of infrastructure being hurt, but maybe not as many deaths, which is a good thing, because it looks like there's going to be some warnings.
Yeah,
warnings where there's going to be some pre-earthquakes before the big one happens.
Okay.
And so everybody would be kind of alert, like sleeping in tents in their backyard or something, and being careful about it. Yeah.
someone wrote me and said, Sterling predicted an earthquake in San Francisco in July. And you're doing an event in San Francisco. I'm doing a small event with Mel in San Francisco, but it's in September. But I've been through earthquakes, and yeah, it's usually about 2 weeks before they make a turnaround.
Yeah, that's what
Remember,
happened.
the whole freeway collapsed.
And that's what happened. We've been in a lot of earthquakes in California, Linda and I, our family, and like the Northridge earthquake that happened,
Oh, that was a good one.
and the Sylmar earthquake, which was a long time ago, it was in the early 70s, I think, the Sylmar earthquake. Yeah, it disrupted infrastructure for a while.
Yeah, but if you're in your house, that's really good.
Mhm.
Because the houses are made, for that kind of stuff. Okay, Sterling, can we live in the East Coast? So we who live in the East Coast, should we expect any major damaging hurricanes this season?
And that's the whole East Coast of the U.S.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, looks like between now and the end of the year, there's 3 pretty good strong storms hitting the East Coast. So it's going to be an issue. But here again, I do feel like there's going to be warnings. So like you'll know a day before something, big storm coming, go to higher ground. So these don't look like flash storms to me. They look like ones that are coming up from various, portions of the globe.
Katrina,
and you're going to know
every step.
You're going to know it's coming. So yeah, but it looks like there's a good 3. So it's like either maybe 2 this year and then 1 into the beginning of next year. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Linda Sturdy. Enjoy the work you do for the world. What about 27 Club? What is it about? Is it about the 27th year of life or close to that? People leave the earth.
I think that's referring to a number of very famous, artistic, creative musicians
that die at age 27.
27. And I've asked my team about that before. That's part of a higher level contract agreement by highly creative individuals that come down here to want to make an imprint on humanity and then decide to leave at that age. What's interesting, numerology wise, and I don't really necessarily follow numerology altogether, but 27 adds up to 9, which is a completion number. So it's interesting, but my guys have always said it's due to a higher level contract a lot of these highly creative people make before they come down here.
Wow. Okay, former Congressman Will Hurd is running for president. I think he voted against 45 in Congress and was primaried out of Congress. What is his chances to be a nominee? Oh, he's running for president, not Congress.
I think he's on the GOP side, if I correct. Yeah, no, I don't see a big effect there. I don't see a big effect.
Yeah, I'm so sorry for that.
Yeah.
What part is Rudy G playing in the Jack S prosecution of the DJT? Did Rudy flip, and how much damage has he done? I heard he's drinking like a fish.
Yeah, well, I've seen, in some respects, when I asked my team about this, he came late to the party. So let's say if Rudy had flipped, a year ago or something, he would have had much more leverage in a deal with the DOJ. Now I feel like they're going to get a lot of what they need from like Mark Meadows. Like Mark Meadows has already got in there, made a deal. And so whatever Rudy's bringing to the table is less of a consequence, so not that big a deal for Rudy here, meaning he's not going to be able to escape a lot of very important legal problems. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he's going to be in big legal trouble.
Yeah.
Are crop circles messages from ETs?
The majority are.
Yeah.
And the way you can tell, it's very easy, is actually if you do what they call a microscopic sampling of like some of the wheat or the grass that's in those circles, you actually see you can see nuclear energy burns. So you can actually see the way the stalk, like the top of the stalk is completely green, the bottom has nuclear energy, radiation burns. Those are the real ones done by extraterrestrial ships. Wow. There's a small percentage that college kids with too much time on their hands get out there with a bunch of boards and ropes.
Yeah, they've done that. Yeah.
Right, but you can actually sample the grass, or the actual vegetation, and you'll see that it doesn't have the nuclear radiation burns on it. Yeah.
There's been cameras that have captured little disc type things, and then you'll see the grass or the fields go, and they're making intricate designs. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a new pandemic like COVID-19 coming soon this year or early next year?
No,
I don't feel
no.
it either.
But there's just more ongoing. It's like, the COVID variants are still evolving. However, humanity's gotten on top of this. So remember, we talked about this years ago, and my team always said by the middle of this year, we'd be moving into an endemic out of a pandemic. So we're really kind of getting into the endemic phase right now, where it's, yearly flu shots, yearly COVID shots kind of a thing. Yeah.
Right, right. Please read on the legal trouble of DeSatan and money laundering from COVID funds with his top donor. I didn't know he was money laundering.
Yeah, I see it's going to cause a lot of political upheaval, but it doesn't look like it's going to get a lot of legal traction. Like there may be some lawsuits that start up. It looks like they get thrown out or pushed out. So look, I don't see a lot of legal ramifications for it, but it looks like a lot of political ramifications. So people kind of reorganizing behind the scenes around DeSantis because of how funds were handled.
Right, right. My question is about LGBTQ rights in Africa. When is it possible for the gay community to live without fear of being imprisoned or victims of violence in Africa? We live long enough to see LGBTQ people accepted on the, will we live long enough to see LGBTQ people accepted on the continent of Africa?
Yeah, that's a big question, because if you look at maybe what's happening in South Africa as opposed to the rest of the continent, I think it's going to get handled a little differently. So it looks like to me within a decade,
Okay,
more like South Africa handles it better, but it looks like a lot of outreaching areas of Africa, many decades before it gets completely handled by society correctly. So unfortunately, Africa is going to be a little bit of a hurtful position, that area. Yeah. But South
right.
Africa looks like it's going to go a little faster to me towards acceptance, full acceptance. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, today on the news, there's a sanctuary there that 2 poachers were going in to kill the rhinos, and what do you call them? A den of lions. Killed them and ate them. They found the heads and pieces of the body.
You want to talk about karma?
Okay, when Jesus said, "In my Father's house are many mansions," was he referring to spiritual levels?
100%. There's thousands of levels in the heaven dimension, and that's what he's referring to. Yeah.
Okay. Can you talk about Ukraine? How soon they might kick the Russians out? And is Putin going down soon after the attempted coup?
I touched on this a little bit earlier, but there's a whole progression going on here, starting in summer out into the end of this year. But Putin is starting to lose power on the way out. The world's going to try to give him an off ramp, but in the meantime, he's working behind the scenes trying to get control of Belarus. So you got all these factors going on at the same time.
Right.
So I don't know. I think that's the answer to the question they're asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that Ukraine would not even say if they say please send more, but they wouldn't say if they're really hurting too bad. They try to keep forward and move forward and just keep fighting.
I will tell you this: the next big aggressive push by Ukraine is going to now then put it over the top. It'll actually move the pendulum, because right now Ukraine, I see strategically they're looking for a couple of the weakest links in the Russian chain in their country. And then when you add in the F-16s, which are coming very soon, Ukraine will finally get the upper hand. So
Thank you. 45 is accused of diverting campaign funds to pay for the legal fees, but is notoriously known not to pay his lawyers. What is the truth about these factors? Is he still using campaign funds, basically?
It's all true. He's diverting campaign funds to pay legal firms, law firms, but he's not paying off the bills completely. So there's truth in all of that. He gets a lot of these cases started, and when he doesn't get the results he wants from the lawyers of the law firm, he moves on. So
yeah,
that's all true. And it looks like he's going to try to make a case that all of the funds that were donated to the campaign were meant to, like, quote unquote, keep him out of jail so he could be a candidate. So he'll argue that it was for the political campaign anyway. So
I think Jack Smith is planning on hitting him on that.
He will. In fact, that's already being researched right now. Yeah.
Will the continent of Africa ever be free of colonialism, and is its influences on the ruling leaderships?
Here, I don't see that happening for many decades,
I know, for
like
Africa.
20, 30
Yeah.
years. That's very well rooted in a lot of history, and unfortunately, yeah.
Yes. Listen, I'm going to add just a quick question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I don't know if you saw how bad Lindsey Graham looks and what happened at the South Carolina Trump rally. They booed and booed and booed. One of the reporters said, at first they were booing, and I said, okay, they wouldn't stop booing. He couldn't open his mouth without everyone booing. And then the guy took out the camera and showed everybody, listen to them. They're just booing, and he looked bad. So what's going on with Lindsey? They just voted him in for 6 years.
I should say up front, I didn't see that clip.
Right.
But what I am getting, for entertainment purposes only, I think there's a real alcoholism. I think there's a real alcohol problem going on with them. And I think that for some reason, sometimes you always have those in kind of your life path, but it looks to me like I might be getting a bit out of control. All the stress, because there's a lot of legal cases coming down here for Lindsey.
Yeah.
And as everything unravels for 45, it's going to spin out and cause him a lot of problems. So I don't know. My team saying it has something to do with alcoholism.
Yeah, that's so true. My God, why didn't I even think of that? He has that look of a really unkept alcoholic.
Yeah, I didn't see the clip, so I don't know. But
and Rudy, I heard, is drinking like a fish too. So that's not good for your body.
That's true.
Okay. Do you see anything coming up this week?
I do a couple of number of things. Unfortunately, the Canadian fires are still really a problem. And it's probably another 6 months before they all get under control. So still air quality problems for the Midwest, parts of the United States, East Coast, still a big problem there. My team was also saying big progress this week coming up on new medical pills in 2 areas, one for COVID and the other one for weight loss. So big tests going on. I think they're trying to move some of the drugs that are in Ozempic into pill form, but some big results coming in that area.
Okay.
And so weight loss and COVID pills, I just heard from my team. Also, more people, if you can believe it, coming forward that have not come forward before regarding the documents case. And also January 6th. So more new people this week. And every week we're seeing kind of a plethora of people coming forward. We just saw 45's campaign, the lady that handles this campaign, coming forward before the DOJ. You saw that this last week, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of that is still happening, ongoing. Yeah. And one other thing, and I always hate when I see this, but like a health scare for a member of Congress. Okay. So somebody in Congress with a health scare. I hope it's not Dianne Feinstein. I mean, but
she's in Senate. Well, Congress, yeah.
Well, Congress overall. My team said Congress overall, the House and the Senate.
Because if she goes, let's say she dies, because I saw her coming back, but then I saw her put her head down.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's Dianne Feinstein, but I'm saying I hope it's not.
I hope not, because the Republicans won't let them vote for somebody else in.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that. Yeah.
But they've already got 100 judges in. They would manage to do that with her.
Yep. Yeah.
So, okay. So you see somebody from Congress. Okay. Do you have anything your guides want to share?
A simple message this week: take the time to enjoy the life you created. And if you're not happy with it, make the changes are necessary, and your guides and angels will support you. So it's more like taking proactive action on your life. Enjoy the life you created, but if you want to make changes, make them, and your team will help you. And
if you're not quite sure how to do it, ask for help, because they will help. We live in either a material consciousness or a real high spiritual. And if you want to get to the spiritual, you're going to have to slowly but surely get out of that material, but just ask for help. And then when we as a collective think in terms of well-being and being present, because if you're not here now, you're not alive.
Absolutely.
There's no life in being there or there. You can't be in fear too. That's the other thing, because when this person wrote me and said, Sterling says she's just trying to warn me, she's not trying to be fearful. But she's saying, Sterling said there's going to be an earthquake when you, and I said, you know what, honey, I can't be in fear. I can't live like that. I've been in plenty of earthquakes. If I'm in it, I'm in it. Maybe I'll be on TV and I can say what happened to me. So,
Great.
but
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. Or if I die, I die. That's how I think now.
You're not going to die.
Okay. Nothing, no time soon.
Yeah, no time soon.
Well, and how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, real quickly. So we have a YouTube channel, Sterling Psychic Medium. And for those that want to connect with me on a session, just go to our website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com, and look for the book a session tab. It's easy to find. So
Somebody just wrote me and said, I got my Sterling reading, and she was all happy.
wonderful.
Okay, thank you. And you guys know that I no longer do readings, unfortunately, but I had to stop. I was tired. Okay, you guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
And everybody have a great 4th of July holiday. Those that are celebrating 4th of July, have a wonderful holiday.
Did you hear about somebody shot a bunch of people in Baltimore? 2 people are dead and 20 some on injured. That's
Oh,
just going to
terrible.
keep going. But
Yeah.
Andre, the astrologer, the way he looks at the United States chart, and he thinks it's definitely going to be Biden that wins, because then the country is really going to take a move as far as like with gun control.
Mhm.
And if we get in there with enough people to change gun laws, I can see an uproar.
Yeah, and I see those things happening through amendments to the Constitution. There's
Yes.
actually be amendments.
Yeah.
Because you have to draw some line of, logic. Even all the gun laws, people can't carry. You can't have an armored tank in your driveway and carry a bazooka. I mean, it's it's crazy. So you got to have. There's some guidelines here. But Biden will be the winner in 2024.
Yeah, well, I've been feeling. I got to tell you something really quick though. Do you think Gavin Newsom will run for president at one time?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, could you?
Sure.
Bet?
Absolutely.
Okay, you know who else I see might be a future president?
Who's that?
When she's in her 50s, Clinton's daughter.
Oh, I'm drawing a blank on her name.
Chelsea.
Chelsea. There you go. Yeah. Oh,
I saw her speaking at something. I've seen her speak. She is as brilliant, if not more brilliant, than her mother and father combined. And I remember years ago flashing on her thinking that, I don't know if I'll be alive, but that woman may someday be president. And I just felt it. And I feel her and her family talk about it like, Chelsea, maybe it'll be you as the first woman president. I'm just throwing that out there, you guys. This is a flash I had a while back. And then I saw her talking again. I thought, maybe she will, but she's older when she does. All right.
All righty.
Okay.
Wonderful spending time together.
If I'm gone and this happens, you be sure to remind everybody. LindaG said it on her show.
I will.
Okay.
I will.
Bye, you guys.
Take care.
Bye.